One. What's up, mortgage coach Dave Savage here. Today I am interviewing Larry Levine, the author of Selling from the Heart, and he also has a podcast by the same name. Larry, what is up, my man?
What is going on, Dave?
Good. Well, hey, it's great to meet you. I want to thank Julie Sanchez from the mortgage coach community that referred me to you, which, by the way, is just a reminder to everybody that's part of the mortgage coach community. If there's someone that you think aligns with our values, someone that you think we can all learn from, make an introduction, let me know. That's how I'm on this interview right now with Larry. So Larry and I were syncing up before we actually went into record mode, and a couple tidbits for everybody that I think are super cool. I've interviewed Tim Brahim countless times, and Larry comes as a salesman from the print and copy industry, and he sold Tim Brahim's copiers back in the day. Isn't that pretty cool?
Well, you know, and that's what's funny, because I didn't even know that, Dave, until you posted something on LinkedIn a few days ago. You remember that? And I see you interviewing Tim Brahim, and I go, oh my gosh, that's a blast from the past. And I commented on it. I said, oh man, Tim and I go way back. So if Tim's watching, hey dude, what's going on?
Yeah, that's cool. And he knows Bill Hillstad, who I've interviewed countless times, and I could go on and do some name dropping, but Larry and I, we had a lot in common. And so Larry, I think the thing we have most in common is just, the name of your book. Like when I got the referral from Julie and I saw the book, I was just like, oh, Selling from the Heart. That just connected with me. I'm looking forward to learning more about it. In full disclosure, everybody, I have not read the book yet. Part of this interview will be like me vetting Larry, like, hey Larry, why should we read your book? But I'm going to say one more thing to set up this conversation, and Larry and I are just going to get after it. It's, I talk all the time how we have to differentiate from the technology lenders, or, from any lender that's just selling price and speed and product and loan. It's all about connecting with people. So Larry, why don't you tell a little bit about your backstory, and then let's get into the book, why you read it, and what we can learn from it.
Well, it's interesting because, like I said, my whole backstory, I spent, and I'm going to date myself just a little bit, but I spent 28 years in the copier channel, all in, the Los Angeles marketplace. So Ventura County, Los Angeles County marketplaces. And yeah, you may call that a little bit outdated, laggard, prehistoric, a little bit as far as the channel. But one of the things that I knew real quick, that if I was going to survive in this, I had to be different. And that's the whole Selling from the Heart, Dave, is I always share with people, how do you expect to get noticed in a marketplace when nobody knows you exist? One. The second thing is in a highly competitive market that I came out of, and same with the people that you coach within, is in order to be different, you got to act different. You got to walk different. You got to live being different. And that's what Selling from the Heart's all about, is bringing your best version of yourself to the marketplace. And that's what I did as a copier rep. I just brought who I was to the marketplace that was different from everybody else. And it's quite simple. It's your heart. Take your heart out of things, and I always say you become lifeless. Take your heart out of what you do as a salesperson. I don't care what field you're in. You become sales lifeless. So we got to bring our heart and ourselves to the marketplace. That's what Selling from the Heart's all about.
Yeah, well, I love that, especially in today's world where we need to differentiate. We need to build this personal brand. The other thing that made me really excited about interviewing you is how you not only have a book and a podcast, and you have this philosophy of Selling from the Heart, but you do, you understand digital. You understand that we live in a world now where I'm in person and I'm with you, and there's Facebook, LinkedIn. We also have this digital persona, which you're an expert at. So why don't we start with the book, and then I do want you to be as intentional as possible with how do we show up in person, and then how do we also put that on social media, every chance you get.
Yeah, and I think if we go to the book and how I set the book up, the first half of this is all working on ourselves. And I think that's the missing part of this whole thing, is we have to work on ourselves. If we don't work on our core, I'll give you an example, but I'll make it really short. I had a back problem this whole year because I've flown a lot in airplanes. I'm constantly sitting. So my back was out of whack, literally. And in August, I went to an orthopedic doctor who x-rayed my back and all that. And he says, hey, listen, everything looks okay. I don't think you have any slip disc or anything like that, but I want you to go to physical therapy. And after physical therapy for a month, if you're still not better, we'll do an MRI and all this. And I said, fine. So to condense this, I start in September. The first couple sessions were just painful, right? It was hurt. My back was hurting. So finally the physical therapist took me aside and he goes, what do you really want to accomplish? What's your end goal with this? I said, I just want to get back to lifting some weights because all I'm doing right now is cardio. He goes, fine. He goes, we got to start working on our core. Our core meaning, you're right, our stomach muscles. We got to flare this out. We got to really work on our core because that strengthens your back. And so I started doing that. And all of a sudden I'm halfway through our next session and I go, I got it. And he goes, what are you talking about? I go, my book, Selling from the Heart. It's the core. The core is what's going to help us as sales professionals, regardless, is we got to work on our core, which is inside of us. If we do that, then watch what starts to happen. And I talked about it in my book, leading, a life of sales chaos. If we got a lot of chaos and turmoil, it's hard to be the best version of ourselves. So my back was killing me. And it wasn't until my back got back in alignment that my brain started thinking correctly, right? My back wasn't hurting. I wasn't in a bad mood. I wasn't masking it. You see where I'm going with this, Dave?
I totally do.
And that's the core. That's the first half of my book, is getting brutally honest with yourself and knowing who you are. We just don't work on ourselves. We do everything else but work on ourselves. And if we can do that, especially in a sales role that's demanding that we just get, the what beat out of us, then what starts to happen.
Well, let's do this, because first of all, I think a lot of people resonate with that message. And I know every time I've interviewed a top producer, I'm just thinking Jeremy Forcier. I mean, this guy, superhuman top producer. But by the way, he just shows up so authentic. He's so aligned with selling from his heart, being super confident. And I could list name after name. What are some things, tactically? I mean, we'll read your book, sure. But what are a couple things that someone can do to start working on their core? Give us whatever advice you could give in a couple minutes.
Sure.
And ideas and some tactics.
I'll give you two quick things. I do it every day. Is I spend the first half an hour of every morning working on myself. I'll just sit in complete silence. Hey, what did I do yesterday that worked? What didn't I do yesterday that worked? How can I become a better version of me today than I was yesterday? So I do a lot of self-reflection and a lot of just sitting in silence the first 30 minutes of every morning. And I do it because that's when my brain works the best. It may not work for everybody. Just do it when your brain works the best. Sometimes it might be before you go to bed, might be in the middle of the day. Spend 30 minutes, self-reflect and self-aware on what can I do to be the best version of myself. That's one, and I still do it. The second thing is I ask people for help, Dave. I ask people for feedback. I ask my clients for feedback. I ask my friends for feedback. I ask my centers of influence for feedback. Describe what I'm doing that's working, that's not working. Am I the best version of myself? Here's another one. Ask people, give me 5 descriptive words, right? Give me 5 descriptive words that describe what you know of me.
I love that.
Start asking people. And I always said, I wore a big V on my chest, and the V stood for vulnerability. And I just rolled it up because I care. And I care. Sometimes it's to my own detriment because I care too much. And I care what other people think, and I care what other people think about me. And I just packaged that all in a way that shared my story out. So I think a quick couple tips, just spend some time alone with yourself. And I always say I was my own worst critic. I was my own worst sales manager. And sometimes we need to be, but just take a step back and think about what we did for that day. Think about what we need to do that day. Am I the best version of who I am? And if not, recalibrate.
So let's do this, because first of all, I love the 30 minutes of self-work. I've interviewed Hal Elrod from the Miracle Morning. We talk a lot about morning rhythms and I don't want to discount it because I think there's a lot of gold there, but something you just said that's super unique, which I can't remember anybody I've interviewed where we talked about getting feedback, from people. And the other reason why I want to focus on that right now is it's the end of the year. What a great time for every mortgage professional to get feedback from their realtor partners or their referral partners.
Sure.
So give us some scripting for the mortgage coach community, and let's do it like, it's December 2018. We're preparing for 2019, and I'm going to task our community to get feedback from their referral partners. What would that sound like if you were the one doing that and you were a mortgage professional?
So I'll roll it out to you. So let's just say you're one of my clients. Is that cool?
Yeah, bring it.
And we'll just roll it. And I think it's all based on value. And I want people to really understand this is how you really can understand the relationships that you have with your clients regardless. I might just say something like, hey, Dave, I've enjoyed doing business with you over the course of this past year. It's meant a lot. Thank you for allowing me to serve you. But I'm just curious, as 2018 comes to a wind down, what are 2 or 3 things of value that I've been bringing to you this year that's helped you do better business?
I like that. So we're asking them for some good news. We're asking them for, what have I done that's been most valuable to you? Love that.
And then it could be something else is, what are, based on what you know of me, Dave, what are 1 or 2 areas that you saw this year that I could work on? Based on what you've observed of me. But see, in order for people to pull that off, you got to have some thick skin, because you got to be prepared for the unexpected. But the unexpected is going to help you become a better person. Because I always say, I wrote a blog post about it about 3 or 4 months ago. I said, sales reps must crave feedback and criticism from their clients. That's how you become better. Because if you ask most people in sales, they'll say this: I have great relationships with my customers. I said, no doubt you do. I'm sure you do. I'm not here to discredit it. But how do y'all know that you're in alignment? You don't know you're in alignment until you go face to face, belly to belly, eye to eye with your clients. Thank them for doing business with you. Look them in the eye and ask them, what's the value that I've brought to your organization over this past year? And if they can't answer that within a short period of time, it's not that you don't have a good relationship. You just got some work to do, because if you've been doing what you say you're going to be doing, shouldn't they be able to go boom, 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 boom? Here's what you've been providing to me.
I love that. So let's do this. I like to keep these interviews under 15 minutes. And I think you just gave the community a home run. I think anybody listening to this interview, myself included, by the way, I am gonna call some of my customers and some of my partners, and I ask that question. I'm even gonna take that home and ask my wife and kids the same question. So I think that there's a lot of wisdom, a lot of value, and we don't need to fire hose people. But let's do 2 things. One, if you're watching this and you're getting value and you like the idea that he just shared, give us a like, share this with your other mortgage friends. Also, if you do read Larry's book and you get a takeaway from that, put it down below, because I would love to bring Larry back into the community and have him on one of our Tuesday or Friday calls. What's in the second half of the book? I would love to spend another minute, understand the full book, try to get one more idea out of you. But what's in the second half?
The second half of the book is applying the sales skills to become that genuine, authentic person. So especially like in chapter 6 of my book, it's all about servant-led selling. And what's really interesting is I was just talking to somebody a couple hours ago, and they talked about service. And I said, part of what we do as salespeople is service, right? Customer service. And the word service gets float around. But what's more important is to lead with a servant's mindset, because we're there to serve. Because in one simple sentence, the art, to me, selling is about the art of the help. And in order to really understand the art of the help, we must become a servant. And the best way I share with salespeople to have that servant mindset is you got to get community oriented. You got to get involved in the community and give back. And once you can start doing that, you'll understand what I mean by lead with a servant's mind. And I always say, on top of that, you must lead with a servant's heart. And I would say, tug on the heartstrings of your customers, because they're asking for it. They're craving it. We just don't do it enough as salespeople.
I love that. I love that. And by the way, if you don't mind, you mentioned the blog post that you wrote. If you could get that to me,
yeah,
I'm going to put that down below. So you're watching this in YouTube or Facebook, There'll be a link down below to Larry's blog post, to his website. Larry, you're talking to mortgage professionals. It's end of 2018. Anything else that you think is important to communicate before we wrap up this first interview?
I think the biggest thing is this is the best time of year. We're a couple weeks before Christmas. We're winding down to the end of the year. This is the best time to look at a couple things. Create a vision for yourself. What does 2019 look like? So create some, 2 or 3 visions that you have for yourself. Create a value statement for yourself. And then create something, this is what I'd like to accomplish the first 90 days of this year. Because what I see happen with salespeople is they're tasked, and this is straight across the board, hey, create a business plan for the whole year. And some people don't even know how to do that. Why don't you just create, hey, this is the value that I'm going to bring to my clients in 2019. Here's my vision, and here's 3 things that I'd like to accomplish the first 90 days of 2019, and use that for right now. And then one last thing is I would take, and I think this would set everyone up for a great 2019, is if they looked back and created a list of everybody that they sold something to in 2018, and just picked up the phone and said, thank you for doing business with me in 2018. I look forward to a prosperous 2019. How much business you could just derive from that would be mind-blowing.
So guys, I thought this was a great interview. You nailed it. We got an idea to get feedback, call and get feedback. And then we got an idea to call all of our past customers and say thank you. And by the way, if you've done hundreds of past customers, use your team. Whether it's you calling, whether it's someone on your team calling, it's important that you as an organization let people know that you really appreciate them as we close out the year. Get feedback. Give us feedback down below. If you do write up, you're inspired by this, and you take the time to write up a value statement that you are willing to share with the mortgage coach community, share that in comments below, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. Larry, if people want to connect with you and they want to learn more from you, what are some of the links? Should they follow you on LinkedIn? Where do you like to drive people to connect into your community?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple. They can follow me on, I'm active on LinkedIn. So you can just look up Larry Levine 1992. You'll find me there. You can find me on my website all over. I got my blogs, my podcasts are all over at sellingfromtheheart.net. You can find me active on Twitter at Larry1Levine, and that's the same thing, Larry1Levine on Instagram. So I'm always open for conversations. You can ping me messages. I love driving the message of being real, being genuine, being authentic, and selling from the heart.
Well, hey man, it's great to meet you. I love this conversation. Appreciate the ideas and takeaways that you give. Mortgage coach community, if there's someone else you want me to interview that you think would be a great fit for our community, let me know. And thank you to Julie for referring you to me. And I look forward to our next interview, man.
Awesome.
Take care, my friend. Cheers. Again, give us a like, give us a share. Have a great day, everybody.